Janmashtami Mahamohotsava ke Srila Prabhupada ki Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Shri Prem Data Nityananda Prabhu ki Shri Prem Purushottam Sakshinandana Gaura Hari ki Go Premanande Yesterday, we began to speak a little something about the purport to Bakasura Vada Lila, the killing of Bakasura. And we read a few things from Bhaktivinoda Thakur that I'd like to review and try to go, if we can, a little deeper to the subject matter. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that Bakasura Vadakuti Nati Dhurta O Satya Hoite Mitya Bhavahara Bakasura Vada Tahake Nasha Nakorile Shuddha Krishna Bhakti Hoya Nasa. That Bakasura represents false dealings. Kuti Nati, which, as we mentioned yesterday, the word Kuti means something which is crooked. And Nata means to dance. So it means someone who's making a crooked kind of dance. They're dancing in happiness, they're dancing for your pleasure, but really it's a very crooked thing and they have some other motivation. That's Bakasura. And the word Baka, which means crane, in Sanskrit, also means someone who's a hypocrite or a cheat. Someone who's using great cunning and deceit to cheat someone. And we read some things yesterday from the Brihadaranyaka Purana about how certain type of people, they make a net to try to capture wealthy people. And that net is different ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices. We call them projects. Sometimes in our society. And we have so many projects. And you should donate for this and donate for that. One leading devotee recently told me, he's a zonal secretary, and he told me, he said, you know, they're making me take courses. I have to take courses in accounting, I have to take courses in management now, and it's required. And I also have to take courses in fundraising. And he told me, I never liked fundraising. This is Achyuta Priya Prabhu in Ukraine. He says, I've never done fundraising. All that Achyuta Priya Prabhu does is kirtan. He speaks about the holy name. And it became so popular many years ago, that festival started with maybe 200 or 300 devotees were coming. And they called it the Bhakti Sangam. And it was very expensive and difficult, so they charged a little money. And then it got bigger and bigger until it was, I don't know, 800 or 900 devotees or something. And Niranjan Maharaj went there one year, and they had to charge money to all the devotees, and you get a wristband. And he saw one devotee sneaking under the tent to go to Mangal Arti. And Niranjan Maharaj told the devotees, something's wrong. If people have to sneak in to go to Mangal Arti, it's not right. He said, you shouldn't charge. Don't charge. The devotee said, how can we do that? It's so expensive. Big tent, trucks, all these sound equipment, so many different things. But they started thinking about it. And after a few years, they decided, okay, we're going to try it. And there's an interesting thing. Gaura Purnima Prabhu, who's in charge of that festival, he told us that for the many years, every year, they were operating in a deficit. They didn't make enough money. But starting with the year that they didn't charge anything, all of a sudden they had extra money. because all the devotees were so inspired, and everybody would come forward, and they do make things known a little bit. You have to register it, because otherwise they don't know how many devotees to cook for. And when you register, they give you a beautiful pamphlet, and it tells you it costs about, I don't know, I think it's like $300 or $400 per person to feed everybody and take care of them. But you give whatever you can. And if you want to give extra, that's good. If you can't give anything, please come. We're very, very happy. So there are certain people, like Bakasura, who want to make some business. And Bakasura, as we mentioned yesterday, is a baka, the crane. He looks like a great yogi. He looks like he's meditating. He looks like he's in samadhi. But it's false. And therefore, Bakasura is a durta. Durta means someone who's very crafty, who's a cheater. He's acting like something that he's not. He's satya. He's a liar. He's very, very wicked. And his dealings are mithya vyavahar. His dealings are a lie. Excuse me, Prabhuji. Please accept my offenses and excuse my obeisances. That's really what he means to say. He may say something else. He just wants to try to impress everybody. And Bhaktivinoda says that Tahaki nasha na korileshura Krishna bhakti hoya na. That unless we eliminate this bakasura, these kind of false dealings amongst the devotees, false dealings with Krishna, then we can't develop Krishna bhakti. It's not possible. Yesterday, we were speaking something about how Bhaktivinoda, or my Guru Maharaj, he says that Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's Patit Pavan. He delivers the persons who are the most fallen. He said, but he's not Kapatya Pavan. He doesn't deliver persons who are very crooked. And it's very interesting, and I think very inspiring, that in his Bhajan Rahasya, his postgraduate study of Harinam Chintamani, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, he gives us what is the qualification for the holy name. Very, very important thing. I remember when I read that, my heart kind of sunk down into my stomach. I thought, oh gee. Now I knew sooner or later they're going to say, there's a little clause here, because when you join, we tell everybody when you come, just chant, dance, and be happy. Everything's cool. But then after a while, there's a little clause in small print, usually somewhere. Oh, by the way, there is one qualification. So my heart sank. I thought, okay, this is it. This is going to be the painful stuff now. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes two verses. We went over this slightly yesterday. I'd like to mention it again, because it's so important. These two verses speak about what is our qualification to chant the holy name. It's a very important thing. I want to know what is this. Krishna speaking to Uddhava, Jatashadama Katasu. In the beginning, someone has some faith in Krishna Katha, Jatashadama Katasu, in Krishna Kirtan, Krishna Katha. Nirvina Sarva Karmasu, and they're disgusted with the material world. Vedukatmakam Kama, and they understand, and they know that if I do some sinful things, I don't behave in the proper way, I'm going to suffer. But Parityage Pranishra, I can't stop. I can't give it up. This is part of our qualification for the holy name. And he goes on to say in the next verse, Tato bhajeta mam pritaha shadaludura nishaya jusamanasatam kaman dukudarkan shagarhayan. What should such a person do? Maybe some of you know some people like that.
Yeah.
I know someone like that. Tato bhajeta mam pritaha. He says, Krishna says, go on worshipping me. Worship me. You do it with prita, with affection. Shadalar, with faithfulness. Juda nishchaya, don't give up. With great determination. Jusamanas tatan kaman, even while you're doing your nonsense. Even while you're doing your sense gratification. Keep chanting. Don't stop. And what will happen? Dukodar comes to Garhayan. Garhayan means you'll repent. Garhayan comes from the same root word as Agni, or fire. It means our heart will become burned in repentance. Not just by going and shaking our finger at someone, but telling them these are the rules that we have here, but by chanting the holy name. Do you want to know something a little scandalous? Sometimes people, I've heard they protest against such an Maharaj, because sometimes he goes to yoga events and he associates with Mayavadis. Radhanath Maharaj does like this also. I have something a lot more scandalous to tell you about a very senior sannyasi in our movement. Not only was he meeting with Mayavadis and such kind of people, but he's sitting down and having dinner with them. And not only that, but they were eating meat while he was sitting with them at the same table. And not only that, he personally arranged for the meat. It's a pretty big scandal, isn't it? And that prominent sannyasi's name is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He arranged like that. Because he saw that some of these wealthy, proud kind of people, they're not going to come and listen to a lecture in the temple. They're not going to sit on the floor with the devotees. They're not going to make a fool out of themselves and dance in the kirtan. But they, in a very dignified way, they may sit down at the table as long as there's some meat there. And he knew that. And they'll sit down and have some discussion with him. Pranava Prabhu, who did his PhD on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's life and teachings, was telling me some of these things. And he said that when Ban Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciple, went to England, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wrote him and told him, you should also do like this. You should serve meat. And Ban Maharaj became very disturbed. He said, Guru Maharaj, we have a lot of Hindus coming here. They won't understand if I do like that. So he didn't do that. And it wasn't necessary. But we should understand that sometimes the devotees, they may do very extraordinary things. And we should understand from these verses, in the 11th canto, Krishna speaking to Uddhava, this is our qualification. Bhaktivinoda says this is our qualification for chanting. In the language of my Guru Maharaj, he used to often say, your only qualification is your disqualification. It's your only qualification. The only qualification that we have. We shouldn't be like Bakasura. Someone putting on a big show, acting like they're some great personality, when they're really not. We should just be very, very simple and learn to call out to the Lord in a very humble way. And then they'll become perfect in the society. It's a very wonderful thing that Srila Prabhupada gave us this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And this year we're celebrating the 50th anniversary. Achyutananda Prabhu, former Swami, remembers when Srila Prabhupada signed the legal papers establishing ISKCON as a legal entity. It was quite a momentous occasion. Srila Prabhupada came over to America with 40 rupees in his pocket. That's about $1 US, less than $1 US today. And didn't know anyone, had nowhere to go, was staying on the Bowery and so many things. And after several years, he was able to start this society. So Prabhupada signed the paper. And then he turned to the devotees and he said something a little surprising. Prabhupada said, actually, we don't need this. He said for ourselves, we could just stay under a tree and chant Hare Krishna. And of course that's what he did in Tompkins Square Park. He said, but if we do like that, no one will come. So we have this society, and it's a very wonderful thing. But sometimes, just as sometimes you may have a person who brings you a wonderful gift in a beautiful box. Now what kind of person is it who falls in love with the box and ignores what's inside the box? So if we fall in love, if we become enamored with the management and the institution and the rules that we have, or as Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda says, speaking about Bakasura, people like Bakasura deceive the entire world by making a show of sectarian formalities and pseudo-renunciation, which is a little bit like the box carrying the gift. If we become enamored by the box and we neglect what's inside, what kind of fool are we? Srila Prabhupada, in one conversation, I think in New York, San Francisco. In 1969, Prabhupada said, that is the best form of religion. That one becomes elevated to devotional service to the Lord, not religious formalities. One has to test by the result. Valina Parichate. You are Christian, I am Hindu, he's Mohammedan. That's all right. You're very good, I'm very good, and he's very good. But what is the result of your following religion? Have you attained love of God? Simply, I go to the church, I go to the temple, and I do all kinds of nonsense. I have no love for God. I have love for my Maya. That is useless. It doesn't matter whether you're Hindu or Christian or Muslim or anything. The Bhagavat says, Savai Pungsam Paro Dharmo. That religion is best by which you develop love of God. If by following any type of religion you get this result, then you perform your religious principle very nicely. So this is the philosophy. This is the point of Bakasura Vadalila. That we don't want to simply make a show. Actually, for devotees, they want to do just the opposite. Rather than making a show of things, they'd rather keep themselves behind things. They'd rather not be in charge of things. Bhaktivinoda, he also says in Krishna Sanhita, Panchame Dharma Kapatyam Kapatyam Dhammaparada Rupakam Bhaktarupi Mahadurto Vaishnavanam Virodika. That Bakasura, who is the personification, he's Dharma Kapatya, the personification of cheating religion, is a fifth obstacle. And he says that Namaparada Rupakam. He represents Namaparada. Why does Bhaktivinoda Thakur say this? When we contemplate on the pastime of Bakasura, it's described in the both in the Bhagavatam, and yesterday we were reading from Vrindavan Lilamrita, yesterday and the day before. The Vrindavan Lilamrita says, Tikshutunde Gauri Krishna Chandre Grasa Kaila. That Krishna became stuck, sometimes we say in the throat, but actually what it says is Tunde. It became stuck in the mouth of Bakasura, and he didn't go any further. And this reminded me of a song, a wonderful song by poet Krishnadas. He says that Nityananda Prabhu, he's mine, Mora Prabhu. Why is he Mora Prabhu? Because he's a Doshadarshi. He doesn't see any fault. I have so many faults, so he's my only hope. So, he's my Lord. But Nabhajinu Henu Prabhu Charanaravinda. I'm so unfortunate. I never worshipped him. I never worshipped Nityananda Prabhu. Just with the lips I did. And then he says, I know what you're going to tell me. What do we tell someone when they have a problem? Chant Hare Krishna. Right? So you're going to tell, I know you're really a depressed fellow, you feel really sad, you didn't get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So you should just chant Hare Krishna. And the poet says, that's true, but there's a little problem with that also. Ta-da-na-mo-ite Hari Krishna. But Tara Nam Laite Na. Gali Murahiya. But the holy name, it's not residing. It's neither in my throat, nor is it in my heart. Gali Murahiya. Krishna Dasa Kore Moro Abhagiya. Krishna Dasa Kore Moro Abhagiya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. He says, therefore, Krishna Das, he sings this song. And he says, Ami Bodo Abhagiya. I'm such a very, very unfortunate person. The holy name's not residing in my throat. Certainly not residing in my heart. Why does he speak like this? Lochan Das Thakur, when he, in Chaitanya Mangal, he explains what is a yajna. There's also a nice verse. Nama yajna maha yajna kolo kamasanasana Krishna Chaitanya prityate nama yajna samarpanam. This is a samarpana mantra. Some Vaishnavas use to offer their kirtan. Nama yajna maha yajna. That the holy name is a maha yajna. Kolo kamasanasana. And it will destroy all the evils of Kali Yuga. Krishna Chaitanya prityate. It's very, very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore, Nama Yajna Samarpana. I offer this mantra to him. And Lochan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Mangal sings a similar thing. Shabaloka Karnagarta Kunda Parisa Jiva Shava Vani Rasha Dritama. Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan Yajna. You may say, how is it a yajna? He says, no, it's a yajna. He says, in this yajna, we have a fire pit. Where's the picture? Right there in the corner. We have a kund. And the kund is the ear of everyone in the world. Sabalok Karnagarta Kunda Parishar. Not just Shrestha-lok, but Sablok. Everyone, the ear of everyone in this world. If we want to do this sacrifice, we have to take this sound vibration to everyone. And that's part of the sacrifice. And then there's a spoon. You have to pour ghee in the fire. Jiva Shraba. The Shraba, the spoon, is your tongue. And Dvani Rasa Grita Manohar, the sound of Krishna's name, that's the wonderful ghee that we pour into the fire of this sacrifice. Antare pravisha bhava agni jvale agni siksha pulakashu kampa kali hare. Hey! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Antare pravisha bhava agni jvale. That when we, with the spoon of our tongue, we pour the ghee of that name into the kund of our ears, then that ghee enters the heart. And then in the heart, something happens there. Agni Shiksha, Pulokashu Kampa Kalaivari. There's a fire of bhakti in the heart. And when we pour that ghee of the holy name on that fire of bhakti, the fire which was almost dead, was very dead in my case. That fire begins to burn brightly. And then something happens. What happens if you light a fire inside of your body? You start shaking, your hair stand on end, tears start coming from your eyes. Pulakashu Kampakaleva, and all the different symptoms of ecstatic love appear on the body of the devotee. So the poet Krishna Das, he says that Gali Morahiya, that the holy name is not in my throat, nor is the holy name in my heart, Gali Morahiya. Why? It's just in my tongue. Like Bakasura. Bakasura couldn't swallow Krishna. It couldn't go anywhere. Why does he say throat? In his commentary on Vishnu Sahasranam, Srila Baladeva Vibhushan, he's mentioned one name of Lord Shiva, Nilakanta. That Lord Shiva is Nilakanta. And why is he Nilakanta? Why does he have a bluish throat? It's said because at the time when the Devas and the Daityas were churning the ocean of milk, this Kalakuta poison came out. And the demigods didn't know what to do. They came to Krishna, Lord Vishnu. What should we do? He could have easily solved the problem. But because he wanted to glorify his devotee, Mahadev Shivji, he said, I don't know. You have to go to Lord Shiva. He can solve the problem. And so they went to Lord Shiva. And Shivji said, I can't do that. He said, no, Vishnu said you should. Oh, okay, I'll do it then. And so then he took that poison, and he took it, but he didn't swallow it. And he didn't keep it in his mouth. He didn't spit it out. He kept it in his throat. And because he kept it in his throat, then his throat became bluish. Why didn't he swallow it? Or why didn't he spit it out? He couldn't tolerate swallowing it. Because he knew if he swallows it, that poison is going to go to his heart. And Shivji knows who is in his heart. Krishna is in his heart. How can I swallow that poison? Krishna will be suffered, he'll be tortured by that. So then why doesn't he spit it out? He can't tolerate spitting out either because he knows who is on his tongue. Krishna is in his tongue in the form of the holy name. And so then he kept it in his throat. At least he did that. But the poet Krishna Das, he says, Gali Marahiya, I don't have it in my throat. I don't have it in my heart. Like Bakasura. Why not? Because Bakasura represents Namaparad. He has the good fortune to try to take Krishna in his mouth, but he can't swallow him. And someone who's doing Namaparad, they also can't swallow the holy name. It doesn't go in a deep way. It just stays on the outside, like Bakasura. Because such a person is doing Kapatya Bhajan in the language of Jiva Goswami and Bhakti Sandarbha. They're doing cheating bhajan. It's not bhajan with sincerity. It's duplicitous. And therefore, to teach all of us, what does Krishna do with that fellow? He says, you're duplicitous. So he comes out, and then Bakasura attacks him again, and then Krishna grabs him, and he splits him in two. To indicate the duplicity of Bakasura, and how Krishna won't tolerate such duplicity in the devotees. So, we should understand this. We shouldn't want to make a big show in our bhajan. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, when he speaks about the meaning of the Trinada piece in Ichina verse, which is a most important verse we've all heard so many times, especially for our non-bhajan, he says, Ei mata Vaishnav kori kichu namagiba Aya chitta vritti kimba Shakapola kaivale Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Ei mata Vaishnava kori kichu namagiba. A Vaishnava is someone, kichu namagiba. He never asks for anything. That's the nature of a Vaishnava. Hey, why you didn't give me respect? Someone told me yesterday, I think it was, the day before, about one devotee who was complaining to one new person. You told me that story. That he said, hey, don't you know, I'm a brahmachari. I'm a senior devotee. You should invite me to your house for lunch. You should do like that. But that's not the behavior of a Vaishnava. Eimata Vaishnava Kori Kicha Namagiva. A Vaishnava never asks for anything. Rather, Ayachitta Britti, his profession, his business, is not asking for anything. He's like Madhavendra Puri. He simply depends on whatever Krishna gives. He doesn't need, as Maharaj said this morning, someone said to me some years ago, a similar thing, that Madhavananda, you should think about your career at ISKCON. I felt very depressed. What is my career? I didn't come here like some corporation or something to make some money like Bakasura. I came here because I had problems, because I wanted Krishna. And now you want to distract me to some other nonsense thing. A Vaishnava is someone who does Ayachitta Britti, Kimba Shaka Phala Kaiva. He doesn't ask for anything. He says that Shaka Phala Kaiva. I'll just eat some spinach and some fruits. Why does it say shak? Shaka Phala? Because shak is something you can find all over the place, just growing beside the road. In other words, I don't need to bother anyone. I don't need to go to beg from some farmer. I don't need to get money. I can just pick that there. And why does it say phala? Same thing. There's so many fruit trees no one cares about. I can go and I can eat something from them and I can maintain myself. Sadanama Laiba Jadalabiti Santosh Eita Achara Kori Bhakti Dharma. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Sadanama Laiba Jadalabiti Santosh. This is a behavior of a Vaishnava. We should Sadanam Laiba, always chant the holy name, and Yata Labete Santosh, be satisfied with whatever comes to you. And mark it that first, he says Sadanam Laiba. You always chant the holy name, because if you always chant the holy name, then the second thing comes automatically. You'll be very pacified, you'll be very nice, easy thing. One devotee came to me recently with a dilemma. True story. He knew someone who was a very, very good kirtaniya, one of the best. But he was suffering. He had a good job. He was making a lot of money every year, maintaining his family. But he couldn't tolerate it because he wanted to do kirtan. My friend said that he was only doing kirtan once a week or something. So then he thought, I'll quit my job and I'll just do kirtan. And so he started doing it, but he has to charge like $5,000 US or something, a large amount of money to do kirtan because he has to take care of his family. And he asked me what I thought about that. And he said, I should also tell you what Ayendra Prabhu said about it. And he said, Ayendra was very angry. He said, no, better you don't do kirtan. You just do kirtan once a week or something. And he told me, and I said, I 100% agree with Ayendra Prabhu. Now you may say, but then I can't do kirtan. I could do so many good things. But what kind of kirtan will we do? My Guru Maharaj used to say, are you doing Krishna kirtan or are we doing Maya kirtan? Are we chanting Krishna Krishna or are we chanting money money? What kind of kirtan are we doing? What are we thinking about? What is our purpose for that? And it's a fact. If someone stays at home and has to work a job for non-devotees and make money and can only do kirtan once a week, you're going to cry. You're going to suffer. Just like Raghunath Das Goswami also suffered. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he advised Raghunath Das Goswami that Antarnishta Bahir Vyavahar. He said, look, don't be a mad person. Antarnishta Bahir Vyavahar. Inside, you be a pure devotee. Outside, you be an ordinary kind of person. Once I heard there was a man who had some medical problems. He had a rash, itching, like anything. And at the same time, there was something maybe more serious. He was coughing up blood. And so he went to an Ayurvedic doctor. And the doctor told him, oh, this is very serious. You can die soon, this blood that you're coughing up. He said, so I'm going to give you 2 pills. And they give you a red pill, you swallow that with some hot water. And the white pill, you crush it. And you mix it with some ghee. And you rub that onto your rash. So, okay, so you got it? Red pills for the inside. White pills for the outside. Phyllis said, okay, red the inside, white the outside. So when he's going home, he was repeating that mantra. He wasn't such a super swift kind of intelligent fellow. And he forgot. Red is for the outside, white is for the inside. And he got it wrong. And he crushed the red pills and put them on his rash. And he swallowed the white pills with hot water. And he died after a couple of days. So the story represents that on the inside, we should have our renunciation. And on the outside, we should look like a normal person. And this is the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Raghunath Das Goswami. Don't be a show bottle transcendentalist, he told him. Don't try to change things on the outside. Change things on the inside. And then Krishna will change things on the outside, and it becomes very, very wonderful. But we should think, as said, that the environment is always friendly. The situation that I'm in is always friendly. It's not bad. Krishna's given me this to help me in my nam bhajan. And if I can't do my kirtan, I'm going to cry. But then, when I finally am able to do kirtan, whoa, and it'll be with a full heart. Whereas sometimes when someone runs away from their family responsibilities, whenever they go and join the Hare Krishna movement, we've seen many times, they take it in a bit of a cheap way. And after some time, many times they end up leaving. Whereas other people, sometimes they're working a job or something for so many years and they're crying. But they're looking forward, when will that day come? When I can retire and I can do book distribution, Harinam, I'll go to Vrindavan. And when that day comes for them, it's very, very genuine. So this is the nature. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says of a Vaishnava, Sadanam Laivi Yata Lavitit Santosh. That always chant the holy name and be satisfied with whatever comes. Don't worry about it. Depend on Krishna. Krishna will take care. Srila Prabhupada in one lecture, he said, we're not here to do business. We don't want your money. We don't care if you become members. I was asked to give a lecture at a wealthy Life member's house one time. And it was the end of my Life membership preaching career. A group of brahmacharis went with us. He's a very wealthy man. He had all kinds of servants in a huge house. And I told him, I remember what Prabhupada said. I felt something for the man. And I said, you know, we don't want your money. And we don't care if you become a member. We just want to see that you're happy. And it really, I could see it touched him. But the brahmacharis that I were with, they were a little disturbed by that. And on our way back to the temple, they thought I couldn't understand what they were saying. They were speaking in Oriya, but I could understand. Anyway, it was the end of my preaching career for Life membership. But I don't care, because we don't need someone's wallet. If you have their heart, then everything else comes automatically. Eta achar kore bhakti dharma posh. That if we behave in this way, we have this achar, then this bhakti dharma posh, this will maintain our bhakti. And we won't become like Bakasura, our favorite madman. Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, he describes in his mad rant called Vrindavan Mahimamrita. Bratar boga subukta sakaiha na bhavata napi sansara madhye Vyajadhana dvara jai kati kati jagati kyati pujadya labdaha Ajaharepi yadrichika urugunavan apyoho samritatma Shrimad Vrindavane sminsatatam Atha Shake Sarvato Mukta Sangha. Bhraktar, oh my dear brother, Bhraktar Bhoga, what enjoyments have you not already had in this world? You've enjoyed so many things. What more do you want? He said, what kind of fame and worship Have you not already gotten in this world by scholarship and sacrifice and charity? He says, just today, my dear friend, adyahare, just now, at this time, my dear friend, you should just accept whatever food comes on its own without you endeavoring for it. And you should always look to see the good qualities in other people and not their faults. Don't put yourself forward. He said, rather, you should remain obscure and unknown. And Srimad Vrindavani Smin Satatam Atta Saki Sarvato Mukta Sangaha. You just wander without anyone with you in the groves of Vrindavan. Now you may protest, but if I do that, I'm an old man. If I do that, what if I get sick? No doctors will be there. What? It's an existential crisis. What if I die? If I die somewhere in those groves of Vrindavan, and nobody knows who I am, how will my friends find out? How will my family members find out? How will they erect a monument for me and remember me for the rest of eternity? They won't. And that'll be the perfection of your bhakti. You can die like that, alone, with nobody knowing who I am and where I am. That's perfection. Perfection means for a devotee, they want to simply chant. They want to be simple. They don't want to make a big show like Bakasura. I heard a true story some years ago. I wanted to tell you. It's a Vrindavan story. One of the Brijbasis told me this. That there was one sadhu in Vrindavan, one pandit, I should say. And he was giving Bhagavad Pat every day, class in the Bhagavatam. And he became a little famous. And many people came to hear his katha. He was a very learned person. And there were many high-class people who would come to that program. But there was one person who would come every time. And when he would come in, everybody would get up and move away because they didn't want to sit next to him. Because you see, he was living on the streets in Vrindavan. And he wasn't taking bath. There was no shampoo. His hair was all matted. And there was dirt all over his body. And his clothes were filthy, stinking, dirty. And his body smelled very, very badly. And so everybody would get up and move away. And he was a madman. You tried to talk to him and he wouldn't make any sense of anything. But he would come every time to the katha. One day, that pandit was going to the Gopeshwar Mahadev temple. And when he was going in, he saw that strange fellow coming out of the temple. And so that pandit, he stopped him. He said, "Hey man, what are you doing? You know, who are you? Where are you from?" And somehow by Krishna's arrangement, that mad person decided to say something to him. He said, "Oh, I'm staying here in Vrindavan." And he told him, he said, "But you don't take bath." He said, "No." And he said, "I've seen you one time. I was walking down the street and I saw someone threw some food at you and you were eating that. And then some dogs came and they started eating off the same plate. And you let them eat? That's disgusting." Yeah, it's true. He said, "Man, where do you come from anyway?" He said, "I come from such and such village," which is a very high-class Brahmin village. I said, "Really?" Said, "What kind of family do you come from?" He said, "I belong to a Saraswat Brahmin family, Gotra. Very high-class Brahmin family." The pundits, "My God, man," he said, "Do you have any education?" He said, "Yeah, I have a master's degree in science." He said, "What are you doing? Huh? What are you behaving like this for?" And somehow, by Krishna's inspiration, that strange fellow said something which generally he wouldn't say. He told that pandit, he said, "Well, if I don't behave like this, I can't see Krishna." The pandit looked at him, he's a very learned person. He said, "How do you see Krishna?" He said, "Well, I see him like I see you." He said, "No, do you see him as a spurti? Because there's different levels. When someone first sees Krishna, maybe for one brief moment, like Narad Muni in his previous life as the son of a maidservant. He said, "You see?" I said, "No, I sit down and I talk with him. We spend time together." And then he said, "But if I don't do like this, then I can't see him." So we don't know who we're dealing with. If somebody came to the temple and they had stool, their own stool caked on their body, probably we might not want to let them in the temple room, I think. But that person might be Lord Vishnudev. Or we can think about Gaura Kishora Das Babaji, we can think about Vamsidas Babaji, and other great personalities who always hid themselves. And this is a very important principle for devotees to understand also. It's difficult for us sometimes because we focus so much on preaching. But there's another aspect also that we should think about. Do you know, 4 times in the Bhagavad Gita, not once, twice, thrice, 4 times, Krishna says the same thing to Arjuna. In chapter 6, text 10, Rahasi Stita Ekaki. He says that a transcendentalist should live alone in a secluded place. Then in 13th chapter, text 11, 2 times in the same verse. First time he says, Evictus Desha Sevidvam, that a devotee should aspire to live in a solitary place. And then he says, Aratir Jana Sangsadi, he should not be attached to the common people. And then in 18th chapter, text 52, he says, Vivikta Sevi, a transcendentalist is someone who lives in a secluded place. But we're not supposed to do that. Srila Prabhupada told us he didn't want us to live alone. So maybe there's some mistake in the Gita. Maybe we should write an email to Jayadvaita Maharaj. Maharaj, there's another problem. We should change this thing. We should cut this out. Krishna says this. Why does Krishna say this? How can we understand this? One of our favorite things in the world is to take devotees on Parikrama in Jagannath Puri. And we call Puri the Jagannath Puri University of Braj. It's a university. It's a school that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened to teach everyone how to get Braj Prem. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't come to be a deity. He came to be a devotee. And he came to teach us how to do Nam Kirtan. And so Jagannath Puri is a university where he taught us that thing. We see generally with Gaura Leela, there are 2 general attitudes people have toward Gaura Leela. And you can divide it in these 2 divisions. One is like a cake, the sponge part of the bread part of the cake. And that's the majority of the cake. That's Mahaprabhu's Prachar Leela, his preaching. And then there's another part to Gaura Leela, that's the Gambhira Leela. Mahaprabhu's intimate, very private pastimes in the Gambhira with Raghunath Das Goswami and Srup Damodar Goswami. Some say Raghunath Das, Roy Ramananda, Govinda. Just a very few, very intimate devotees. And that's like the sweet icing. So if you look at the Vaishnava community, there's some Vaishnavas who emphasize the bread part, and there's some Vaishnavas who emphasize the icing part. Right? Generally speaking, don't mind me saying, in ISKCON and Gaudiya Math, we emphasize the bread part. And even sometimes some devotees say, don't take the icing, you can't digest it, only allowed to have the bread part. But I have a problem with that. When I take the bread part, it's a little dry. And it gets stuck in my throat. It's not very nice. Then there's another group of Vaishnavas, you know. They only like the icing part. And they say, no bread. We just take the icing only. I've seen some children like that. Once we saw one child at a party. He took the icing off about 10 pieces of cake. And that's all that he ate. Very nice. But what happened to him? The next day, he spent most of the day in the bathroom. Because he couldn't digest that. So in a similar way, some people, they can't digest that. It's very, very sweet and tasty. But if that's all that you take, you may get some indigestion. If we want the full mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we have to take both parts of the cake. not just only take the bread part, which is very dry. And some people are not very attracted by that. They'll say, all these people, they're just very dry. There's other people over here, they have nice icing. You guys are teaching stress management in Bhagavad Gita. And over here, they're teaching Radha Rasa Sudha Nidhi. Which one is more relishable? And they go. But actually, we need Bhagavad Gita and stress management. That's where we're at. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught us by his pastimes in Jagannath Puri. Lochan Das Thakur, he says that 3 times a day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to the Jagannath Mandir. And the Jagannath Mandir represents organized religion. And as we mentioned, I think yesterday, God always supports organized religion. He always supports Jagannath. He doesn't complain that the Pandits don't let us inside the temple. It's very bad. But he has his reasons for that. Oh dine nate nehita charano nishchitamidam Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavajami. Oh dine nate nehita charano nishchitamidam. When Jagannath sees that someone feels very low and very fallen, and they're always crying, Jagannatha Swami, Nayana Patagami, Bhavatume, where are you? I want to see you. Then Krishna Jagannath gives his mercy to that person. So Jagannath always supports organized religion. Krishna always supports that. Not far from the Jagannath Mandir in Puri, which represents organized religion, and there's a few other classrooms there also. It's another discussion. There's another classroom also, which is arguably the most important classroom. It's hard to say which of these two is the most important classroom in Puri because they're both the most prominent. That second classroom is the Gambhira. And the Gambhira means a very private, secret place. The word Gambhira has a number of different meanings. I'm getting off my subject a little bit. This is a nice topic. The word Gambhira means something deep. But Gambhira also, in the Arya tradition, refers to a room that a wealthy man has where he keeps his treasure. And so that Gambhira is the room where Kashi Misha was keeping his treasure, the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And recently, one of our friends found a manuscript. I don't have it here in my notes. Very interesting. Another meaning of the word Gambhira. And it's broken up into like 3 different words. It's a little complicated. I don't remember the details. But it means one who is afraid, Bhak, of Krishna, I think it was Ra, leaving. That's Gambhira. So Gambhira is another synonym for Radha, for Radharani. So there in the Gambhira, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's tasting the icing. And he's teaching us that if we want to get the full mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we want to understand the Sankirtan movement, which is not just the Sankirtan movement, but it's the Prema Nam Sankirtan movement, the movement of Krishna praying, then we also have to have a private place. We have our public face in the Jagannath Mandir, and we go out and we distribute books, and we do Harinam, and that's very good. But this movement did not begin on the street. This movement began in the house of Srivas Thakur. Yeah? And Videshi Pravesh Nished, outsiders were forbidden entrance. It was only for the Antaranga Bhaktas, those internal devotees. That's where this movement began. And that's where our movement should begin as persons. As individuals, we need to have a private place. And this is why it's so wonderful that we have festivals like this. We have Kirtan Melas. And I'm going to embarrass him, please forgive me, Marge, but Satyananda Maharaj has done a very wonderful thing for our movement by introducing these retreats and these Kirtan Melas. Because we need this. We need to have a room where we can go by ourselves, where everybody's a vegetarian, and I don't have to tell you not to eat meat. I'm tired of speaking about that all the time. It's okay if I'm speaking to someone on the street. But I've seen devotees. I remember one big temple, one very senior devotee gave a class, and the whole class, only to devotees, was all about why you should be vegetarian with reasons from the Bible. And I, with all respect, with all respect to the Bible, with all respect to the teachings of vegetarianism, which are important, we also have to have something for our hearts. If that's all that we speak about, then we're just going to end up leaving. Or worse yet, we may end up becoming like Bakasura and putting on some big show and thinking that the whole point of everything is just to make some money. There's a nice poem that we came across a few years ago. This is from a book called Hymns for the Drowning. Nice title, isn't it? There's one scholar, and he's a translation, poetic translation of a song by Nam Alwar. It's just a poem. Please listen. Say, mumbling and prattling the many names, while onlookers say they're crazy, entering and not entering cities, standing still or swaying before a laughing world. They dance, they leap, undone by feeling, and the gods bow down before them. So this is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. We don't want to be like Bakasura. He looks like a great sadhu. He looks like such a pucka person. He's all white, he's very brilliant, but he's a rascal. And he represents Namaparad, offense to the holy name, because he's not simple, he's not honest. It's not bad to be fallen, but what's very bad is to be duplicitous. And it becomes sometimes a little difficult when we have a hierarchy, when we have a big movement, and everybody wants to be respected. And I think, you know, if I tell everybody here what's really going on in my mind, they'll never let me give class here again. They'll never invite me. Mukunda Gopal will stop bringing prasadam to me. Nobody will give me any donation. So I better shut up. I better not say it. But that's not the mood of Haridas Thakur. That's not the mood of Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. They opened their heart up. And whatever faults were there, they freely showed that to everybody. It's a little difficult to do. We can speak about this. But to practically do it in our society, especially if you're a sannyasi or a guru, or a big person in the society, if we go and we start speaking about our faults, people will say, well, gosh, either he's really humble or we shouldn't invite him to come anymore. As Maharaj was saying with humility this morning. But we need that. We need to just be who we are. Just to be really honest. And then we can really do Nam Bhajan. We have to stop being like Bakasura. And such a person won't look very good. They're crazy people. We printed this poem in our Krishna Katamrita Bindu magazine. I don't have the issue number here. And we printed an ecstatic photo. It was a picture of one devotee. One devotee was playing Mridanga and Harinam. There was another devotee who was dancing, and he was leaping in the air like about, and he was really about this high off the ground, literally. And it was just such an ecstatic picture. And people are laughing. When they see these devotees mumbling and prattling the many names, and they're mumbling and prattling. Prattling means the talk of a mad person. And onlookers say, these people, they're crazy. It's not something you're going to get respect by. And such devotees, they enter and they don't enter the cities. I would suggest that this is a lesson Krishna wants to give us in the Gita, these 4 instructions. Not that we should go away and we should stop doing kirtan with the devotees, or we should stop our activities of book distribution and preaching. No, we should increase them. But we need to learn the art of being alone in the crowd. We may be surrounded by 1,000 people, and maybe everybody's adoring you and paying attention to you, but you're completely oblivious to them. Like Lord Rishabdev is described in the Bhagavatam. He was going places, and there was a huge crowd of people following him, and they're all saying, yeah, I'm with him, Maharaj and I. But Lord Rishabdev, he said, I have no idea who these people are. He was completely self-situated and had no interest in all those people around him. We also need to have some aspect of that in our life. We should feel very great compassion for others. But at the same time, we need to have the quality of detachment. That it's up to Krishna Krishna's in control. Krishna's a preacher. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a preacher. I can't solve anyone's problems. All that I can do is what I'm supposed to do. Repeat what I've heard. All that I can do is just chant Hare Krishna. And it's such an insignificant thing. I'm not a big person. It's just such a humble, small job. It's not something I'm thinking of. It's not that I have some new realization. I'm such a great person or something. I'm just a postman. A postman's not a very prestigious job. I'm just carrying the mail. And that's our kirtan. That's our Krishna Katha in this movement. It's a very, very humble thing. And when someone has that kind of mood, then Krishna can actually speak through them. But when someone wants to pretend like they're Bakasura, then that person, he may look like he's taking Krishna in his mouth in the form of the name, but he can't digest it. He can't swallow Krishna. It'll just stay outside. So the devotees, they enter and they don't enter into the cities. They're standing still or they're swaying. Some they're dancing before a laughing world. This is what it means to join this movement. Everybody makes fun of you. Very good. Such a nice thing. In my false prestige, there's some hope that it may go away. And they dance, they leap, undone by feeling. And the gods bow down before them. That all the demigods, they respect such a person as this. And we read something from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. The Garga Samhita gives a similar description that the demigods, when Bakasura swallowed Krishna, they became very, very disturbed. And they came there with their weapons to fight with Bakasura. The same description is given practically in Brahma Vaivarta Purana and Garga Samhita. And Garga Samhita describes that Bakasura, they cut his foot a little bit. That was about all they did. It was like practically no harm to him. They couldn't do anything to him. But they had this pride. They had this feeling that they could do something. My grandma used to told a story once that once there was a king who was a great devotee. And another king came and attacked his country with a great army. And so that king took his army and went out and they began fighting. And this king was a great devotee. As he was fighting, his army was losing. And he was going to be destroyed. And it said that Lakshmi and Narayan were watching. And Lakshmi Devi, she told her husband, you should go, you should save him, you should do something. The Lord Narayan said, I know, he's my devotee. He said, but he's not calling for me. He's not asking for me. So why should I go? So, as we mentioned yesterday, and as Maharaj was saying this morning, we have three friends. Dukkha, Trasa, Aparadajar, Anorjitam, Dadinata, Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Our three friends, he doesn't put it that way, but if we think about it, they're our friends. Unhappiness, fear, and the sense of having committed some offense. Or to put it in another word, being honest. Those three things give rise to our humility. And then we can really begin to do bhajan with some sincerity. And it's not just some religious rituals that we do. A funny thing happened today. I had something on my mind the last couple of days. There's an article that we wrote a few years ago about Janmashtami, why people observe Janmashtami. And I was thinking, oh, I should send this to Dandavats, the website. And then I go and I check my email, and one of my friends wrote me and said, oh, I just saw this article that you posted on Dandavats about observing Janmashtami. And without me saying anything, Chitrika Prabhu, the webmaster for the site, he posted that article. I was very surprised. And I just found out, and so I thought, maybe Krishna's telling me something. So I wanted to give you a little summary of some of the points which also connected with our discussion today about Janmashtami. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, the 15th Vilas describes the importance of observing Janmashtami. And it gives 3 different reasons. Nityatam cha padam tasya bhagavat prinanam natam virivakyam visesascha karane pratyavayata. 3 different reasons why we should observe Janmashtami. He says that we should do it, 1, because it's a nitya dharma and it should always be done. It's very important. And because if you don't do it, then you may get some sin by not observing that. And the 3rd reason is that Krishna's pleased by it. So it's an interesting thing. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, after that, there's something like 20 verses which describe the frightening reasons why we should observe Janmashtami. And there's a lot of heavy things that are said. If you don't fast on this day, if you drink even 1 drop of water, then they tell you about all the terrible suffering you're going to experience in hell if you don't observe Janmashtami in a proper way. Don't even think about food. Very, very bad. So that's one motivation. And then he speaks about another section. There's another almost 100 verses speaking about the material benefits you'll get by observing Janmashtami, and it's pretty good. You can become Indra, you can get the girl you've always been wanting to get, you can get that husband you really wanted, you can get the children you want, you can become Indra. You can get lots of money, you can get a PhD, you can get all the kind of things you want by observing Janmashtami. And there's half a verse that speaks about, it says, Pitaye Krishna Vallabha. 1/2 of a verse, text 267, describes that many kings such as Prahlad observed it because it's pleasing for Krishna. Now what does this tell us? It tells us that Gopal Bhatta Goswami, or sometimes we say Sanatana Goswami, who compiled Hari Bhakti Vilas, they were thinking about a particular audience. It reminded me of some presentation that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where he describes 4 reasons why someone worships the Lord. Bhaya, Asha, Kartavya, Buddhi, and Rag. Bhaya means out of fear. And this is a presentation that is made in Hari Bhakti Vilas. If you don't observe Janmashtami, if you don't stay up until midnight, if you take a nap during the day, if you drink even a drop of water, forget it. You are going to those terrible places you've read about in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, the hellish planets, and they're really going to torture you like anything. Okay? Don't forget it. That's one motivation people have. And then another motivation is asha. Asha means some desire. I mentioned, I think yesterday, the day before, about how this crazy fellow I met once, he told me to chant this Buddhist mantra. And if you do, he said, you get all kinds of things. I got a girlfriend, I got a guitar, I got this, that. So that's asha. And the Hari Bhakti Vilas really, really goes on and on about that. So Bhaya and Asha, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, they're very low-class reasons. And these may be the reasons why we observe Janmashtami. Because I'm afraid. I read that if you don't observe Janmashtami, if you don't observe it properly, I'm going to go to hell. So now I'm going to stay up all night tonight, I'm going to fast properly, I'm going to do everything because I don't want to go to hell. Or maybe you have the motivation that I read that if I do this thing, then I'll get my sweetheart, I'll find the girl of my dreams. I'll get a lot of money, I'll get this thing, I'll get that thing. And so you may act by that motivation. Bhaktivinoda says that Bhaya and Asha are very low class. And we should be able to easily understand this. Because in our relationships, maybe you're going to school, and someone comes and says, man, I'd really like to be your friend. Maybe you'll protect me from all the other people because you're big and you have some muscles. What kind of friendship is that? Someone's afraid of you. Or someone else comes up to you and says, wow, I just want to tell you, you're just so handsome and you're so intelligent, and you're like the best student here, you're so good. And by the way, I want to be your friend, and can I borrow some money from you? How do you feel? You feel like you've been raped. It's an offense to the principle of friendship. And so if we approach Radha Madan Mohan on this day with the motivation of Bhaya or Asha is very low class. Bhaktivinoda says better than Bhaya and Asha are Kartavya Buddhi. Kartavya Buddhi means I have a sense of duty, responsibility. Krishna gave me all my food. Srila Prabhupada, he gave us this movement. I have a debt and I owe it to him. I should come and do that. That's better. Kartavya Buddhi is better than Bhaya and Asha. But better than Kartavya Buddhi, the real reason we should come is because of God. Because we have some attachment for it. Because we want to bring some pleasure to Radha Madan Mohan. Not that we just want to make a show like Bakasura, but we really want to try to please Krishna. And if we do that, an amazing thing happens. It's described by Sanatana Goswami in his Krishna Lila Stava. He says, Rupa Nama, what is it? Rupa Namashrita Vishta. Thank you. Rupa Namashrita Vishta. An amazing thing happens. When you start contemplating Krishna's form, when we sit in the kirtan and we look at Madan Mohan, and what am I supposed to see? I don't know about all you, maybe you're very elevated devotees, but I just see, yeah, it looks like he's made out of marble. They did a nice job decorating the altar. But I don't see all those things that we hear about in Shastra. He hasn't talked to me. Maharaj was saying that he opened his hand when the devotee saw and dropped his food. I didn't get to see that. I'm such an unfortunate person. But still something happens. If you contemplate the form of the deity, Rupa, and Nama, if you do kirtan with the devotees, and you may say, I have no taste, I have no interest in hearing the holy name, I just like to watch television, and I like to eat chocolate. That's all that I like to do. That's the only thing I'm attracted by. But it's okay. Just sit down and just listen. Rupa Nama, Rupa Namashrita Vishta. If you take shelter of those two things, Krishna's form and Krishna's name, then an amazing thing happens. Krishna enters into the body of that devotee. Rupa Namashrita Vishta. And this is why devotees are so very effulgent. Why they're so very special. They've been chanting and Krishna's name enters into their body. They meditate in the form of the Lord. And the form of the Lord enters into their body. They're not ordinary persons. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes in Harinam Chintamani about the benefits and process of associating with a devotee. Vaishnavani kate jari vaishe katakshan deha hoite hoya Krishna shakti nirashan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. This is Janmashtami. Janmashtami means Krishna's appearance. And Srila Prabhupada writes in his purports in the 10th canto that Krishna appeared first in the heart of Vasudeva. And then from the heart of Vasudeva he was transferred to the heart of Devaki. And Prabhupada said, this is initiation. Guru makes Krishna appear in our heart. Because Guru Sadhu has Krishna in his heart. Vaishnava Nikati Jari Vaishika Dakshana. Even just for a few moments, if you're near such a Vaishnava, then you'll come in contact. Deha hoite hoy Krishna Shakti Nisaram. You'll come in contact with that Shakti of Krishna. Because it's in the body of that Vaishnava. Because they're doing kirtan. This is why it's so wonderful to associate with devotees. And Bhaktivinoda goes on. Sei Shakti Shadavan Ridoye Pasya Bhaktira Udoya Kore Deha Kampariya. Hey! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Sadhu Sabadhan. You should be careful who you sit too close to in the kirtan. Because if you sit too close to some very powerful Vaishnava, then something may happen to you. Say Shakti Shadavan Hridaya Pasya. If you have faith, Bhaktivinoda has a little thing, if you're Shadavan, then that Shakti will enter into your heart. If you have some faith in the Vaishnavas. But so many people, they tell me, there's no more pure devotees. Prabhupada's the last one. Or maybe Gauragovinda Maharaj, or maybe Ayendra Prabhu. But after that, there's no more pure devotees. We just have to close everything down. You have no faith, and it's not going to work for you. But if you're Shadavan, if you're simple, and you have faith in the devotees, Krishneti Yashagaritam Manasadhyeta. I respect them just because they chant Krishna's name. It's such a great thing to chant Krishna's name. Really, our faith may not be in the devotee. Our faith is in Krishna's name. And the devotees are chanting Krishna's name. So I have faith in the devotees. So if you're Shadavan like that, then say Shakti. Hridaya Pasya. That Shakti will enter into your heart. And then something happens. Bhakti Udvaya. Your Bhakti becomes awakened. If you have faith, Ado Shada Tata Sadhu. If we have faith in the Sadhu, then Bhakti Udvaya Korideya Kampaiya. And then something happens to your body. And we were speaking about a minute ago. Your body starts shaking. And the hairs stand on end. And tears start coming from your eyes. Just by association with a devotee, if you have faith in that devotee. And Bhaktivinoda says, Jeva Shila Vaishnavera Nikate Shradai Tahara Vitoye Bhakti Toye Devu Toye Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If you have faith, and you just come to Kirtan Mela, you have faith in the devotees, you have some faith in the deities, and you just come here and you associate closely with some of the devotees in this Kirtan, then he says, Tahar Hridoye Bhakti Hoye Udoy. That Bhakti that the Vaishnavas have, it'll awaken in your heart. Katame Ashive Ar Mukhe Krishna Nam Namera Prabhave Bhave Sarva Guna Ram. Hey! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And if we have faith in that name, if we have faith in those devotees, then Pratama Ashibe Armukhe Krishna Nam. As soon as Krishna's name enters your mouth, Namera Prabhave Bhave Sarva Guna Gram, you'll get all good qualities. All good things will come to us if we have faith. Because then the holy name will go through your throat and it'll go into your heart. And we won't be like Bakasura, just making a big show. And even though he had the good fortune of taking Krishna in his mouth, he couldn't digest Krishna. He couldn't swallow Krishna because he was an offender, because he was a pretentious person. So these are some principles which I think are very relevant for our celebration of Janmashtami. Because we want Krishna to appear. Krishna, Bakasura couldn't digest Krishna, he couldn't swallow him. And he disappeared from the boys. But then those boys, they began to cry. And in their crying, Krishna came out again from the mouth of Bakasura. And he took the two beaks of that bird and he split it in two, showing what Krishna does to people who are duplicitous, who are saying one thing but behaving in another way. Krishna appeared before those boys because they were crying. And therefore Vrindavan Das Thakur, he tells us, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhamma, Bhakti Krishna Nama Swaraya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He says, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dana. Bhakti is a real wealth. Bhakti is a real wealth. Bhakti is a real... Okay, all right. Chill out. What is Bhakti? Bhakti Krishna Nama. Bhakti is Krishna's name. But smarana prandana, it means chanting Krishna's name and crying. And that's really what Janmashtami is all about. Coming here and doing something for Krishna's pleasure. Being real, because Krishna likes real people. He doesn't like plastic people. He doesn't like persons who come like Bakasura and try to put on a big show. So these are some of the thoughts we have about this pastime of Bakasura. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Veda Bhaktavinda ki jai, Lord Premanandi Hari Om, Vanchakala Vidushya, Sindhu Vedita Vaishnavi. Thank you all so much. It's such a wonderful thing to be able to go on a journey with the Vaishnavas. The Narada Purana says that if you just walk 3 steps with a Satjana, a high-class person, or you exchange 3 words, then that person considers you to be a friend. But he says, with great personalities, that means all of you, personalities who are chanting Krishna's names, then that friendship is created at every step and with every word. So thank you all for going with us. Maybe some devotees have some, Marcy has some comments?
No, just 2 very technical questions. Would you please be so kind to tell me where the shloka in Krishna Lila Stava is? Rupa Namashrita Vishta? Yes. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. How we can serve you much. It's text number 45.
45. And the second technical question is, you spoke about the medication of the Kaviraj, a red pill and a white pill, and I wanted to say this corresponds to inside renunciation. And what was the outside? Was it being accessible or?
Bahir Vyavahar, outside, means it looks like an ordinary person. It doesn't make a big show. And of course that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. Excuse me, Maharaj, Brahmacharis here. It doesn't mean the saffron is wrong or something like that. But it means that we shouldn't show our renunciation. And Bhaktivinoda says a similar thing in Krishna Samhita about Bakasura. He says that people who've been cheating religion, they deceive the world in 2 ways. One, by making a show of sectarian formalities, and secondly, by doing pseudo-renunciation. The Vaishnavas are not interested in pseudo-renunciation. It's a big subject. Rupa Goswami describes elaborately in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that actually renunciation is detrimental to bhakti, and especially false renunciation. Vasadevi bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojita jnana yat yashivairadam jnanam shayadahoitikam. Our system is we don't cultivate renunciation, we cultivate bhakti. We chant Krishna's name. And then automatically the renunciation comes. Would you?
I have 2 questions. Yeah. First, could you like tell in short essence, so to say, from this?
Does somebody have a microphone for him?
I'll take patient.
It's on.
Is it on?
Yes. Okay. No? Okay.
Turn the volume up. You're just sitting in a chant job, but you don't know.
One question is.
Speak loud.
Hello? Okay.
Oh, I can hear you.
Yeah. If you could, like, in essence, give us this meaning of this verses from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which you spoke about the qualification of the holy name. Yeah, okay. like in short essence, because you spoke.
Yeah. Thank you. I wasn't satisfied yesterday when first of all, I'll say his question. So he's asking if I can say in brief essence, because he knows I'm a talkative fellow. In brief essence, if I can say just exactly what it is that is the qualification for the holy name that Bhaktivinoda says. Thank you. I wasn't satisfied with what I said yesterday. I realized, I have to say something more. And you know, it's so bad, I did the same thing again today. What is that qualification? Bhaktivinoda is describing someone who's fallen. So if I eat meat and have illicit sex and get intoxicated, that's my qualification for chanting? Doesn't sound very good to me. How do we understand that? Our qualification is our disqualification, Guru Maharaj used to say. Our qualification is that we be honest and we admit our disqualification. Our qualification is that I admit what Krishna speaks about in this verse. I'm such a person that I can't control my senses. I can't follow things properly. And because of that, I have some qualification to chant. That's the qualification for the holy name. Makes sense? Is that more clear now?
Yeah. So it's like means we take like full shelter. We have no qualification. We have nothing. Just
and we can't
full
take
shelter.
full. So he's saying, so we take full shelter. And yes, we can't take full shelter unless we're honest. If we're putting on a show, how can we take shelter? I'm taking shelter of my show. I'm trying to impress everybody the way that I'm dressed or something. Okay. Anything else to say?
Yeah. And then, and also, if you could like tell us the conclusion of the song from Krishna Das, I think we just sang about that I can take Krishna.
Taranam loite na gali morahiya Krishna Das koi mui bodo abagiya. Taranam loite na. I don't have the holy name. You may tell me to chant Hare Krishna, but I don't have it. Taranam loite na gali morahiya. I don't have it gali in my throat. Hiya, I don't have it in my heart. It's in neither place. Krishna Dasa Kohi Mui Bodo Abagiya. Abagiya, Bodo Abagiya. I'm very, very unfortunate. So it sounds a little strange. I can't chant, and that's what's good. No, what's good is Bodo Abagiya, that I feel very, very unfortunate. It indicates that the poet is crying. And he's really, really honest. I have no taste for the holy name. It's not in my heart. It's not in my throat like Lord Shiva. Maybe it's a little bit on my lips. That's all, but I have no taste for it. So, Ami Bodo Abagiya. I'm a most unfortunate person. And this is the medicine for this Bakasura disease. We have to first of all go to the Sadhu Vaidya, or the Sadhu doctor, who will chastise us with his harsh words and tell us, why are you putting on a show? Stop that. Nonsense, rascal. And then our pride becomes crushed. And then we can actually cry a little bit. And that's the medicine. Being honest is a medicine to defeat this Bakasura Vada.
Okay, last question. You spoke about the devotee who make a lot of money and he wanted to make kirtan, right? What about that if he just gives up everything and Krishna, he makes kirtan and Krishna promised he supplies everything, yeah, he supplies to the devotees and so on.
But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's what Raghunath Das Goswami came and said. Look, I want to join the Hare Krishna movement. I want to leave my wife, my family, they're all in Maya, they're all nonsense. I want to come and join you. And Mahaprabhu said, don't be a crazy fellow. Don't be a short bottle renunciant. We don't do renunciation. Krishna makes the renunciation. We just chant and we cry and we pray. And Krishna will give us intelligence. It's not that Raghunath Das Goswami didn't leave home. He did. But Krishna made the arrangement. He gave him the intelligence and he gave the opportunity at the right time. Krishna made the arrangement for that renunciation. And Krishna will also make arrangement for us. But there's a number, we printed a letter in, I think the last issue of our Krishna Katamrita, the Bindu magazine, maybe the previous issue, probably wrote to one devotee, he was chastising like anything. He said, what is this? I get so many of my disciples married, and then as soon as you get your wife pregnant, you want to take sannyas. You want to become renounced. When there's problems from your wife, problems from your children, what kind of, he said, this is very disgusting. Prabhupada was very, very heavy. So they wanted to be renounced. They wanted to just do kirtan. But what kind of kirtan are you going to do? That kind of kirtan is for me. So I can run away from my responsibilities. So I can try to have a good time. So I can enjoy it. And of course, I'll look good. And everybody's going to give me a lot of respect. if I do like that. But better to be a sincere sweeper of the street, Prabhupada says in one Gita purport, than a show bottle renunciate. Why is it better? Because then it builds up in your heart. And it's genuine. The renunciation is a genuine thing then. It's not just a show like Bakasura. Okay? Anything else, sister? Prabhuji?
Also good in Max meditation, speaking louder.
No.
You're mentioning our three friends.
You can still talk louder.
Yeah. You mentioned our three friends,
Three friends.
the propensity of criticizing, and the other two. We have to be conscious of them.
No. We have, these are three things which Rupa Goswami says, give humility. And I say, therefore, they're our friends. He doesn't say they're friends. But they're dukkha, unhappiness. Trasa, fear, and aparada, adhyaya, which means the sense of having committed offense. Not that committing offense is going to make me humble. But when I have the feeling, the understanding that I have committed some offense, that gives you that.
Yeah, so my question is like to kind of take distance in the same time and not identify with them, because in the, for example, in this wonderful festival, you see so many Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas with so many good qualities, and sometimes in response they may glorify you too, but in the mind you have to keep these three also kind of be realistic.
When someone comes and glorifies us in this society, why are they going to glorify us? If someone comes and says, wow, that was really a nice class. Well, okay, before I start inflating like a balloon and take off, I should think about a simple thing. First of all, who told me to do this? My Guru Maharaj told me to do this. Where did I get the information from? My Guru Maharaj gave me the information. Where did I get some inspiration? Because it wasn't all repeated from him. The inspiration also came from him. And if I think about really what I am, and if you knew me before I came to this movement, before I came to my Guru Maharaj, you wouldn't want to be my friend. I wasn't a very nice creature. I wasn't, much less a human being. I wasn't a nice creature. So everything belongs to my Guru. So we should understand that. If someone wants to come and praise us for our kirtan, praise us for our deity worship, it doesn't belong to me. And if we think it belongs to me, I'm a damn fool. We give the example sometimes that maybe they ask you to do Mangal Artik next year during the Gaur Purnima festival in Mayapur. Wow. And so you come out in the morning to blow the conch shell and you see there's 10,000 devotees there. And then you think, they're all here to watch me. There's something wrong. They're not there to watch you. You're there as a servant. All your job is to wave the incense because Srila Prabhupada can't be there. Prabhupada should be there. Your Guru should be there to do the arti. And because he's not there, I'm just his servant waving the incense and doing these things on his behalf. It doesn't belong to me. And that's what kirtan means. That's what Krishna Katha means. That I'm just doing it as a servant. I'm no better than the listeners. My God. There's so many wonderful prayers our acharyas have given. Rupa Goswami in the Lita Madhav, he gives a wonderful verse I was just writing this morning. Keyam sabha gunavati batamugda rupa kvaham jitosmi guruna guru goravena adya mamadya saranam saranam gatanam dattotsavasya karuna karun aravasya. He says that, what assembly am I in? Kvayam. What an assembly! The Sabha, Gunavati, Bhatta, they're all very wonderful personalities. And who am I? Mugdha Rupa. I'm bewildered Rupa Goswami. Rupa can also refer, Rupa means a form, and Rupa can also mean a phantom kind of shape. So in our case we could say that the false speaker. Who am I? Kvaham jitosmi guruna guru goravena. I should give so much respect to the devotees. Adyamamati saranam saranam gatanam. And what am I doing? Saranam saranam gatanam. I'm doing sharana. I'm taking shelter of saranam gatanam. Somebody else who's taking shelter. And then, Datot Savasya Karuna Karuna Avasya. I'm taking shelter of those persons who are taking shelter of the most merciful Krishna. That doesn't belong to me. It's such a very, very important point that we need to learn. Otherwise we become like Bakasura. And we just make a show. And there's no potency in it. And nobody changes. Okay? Anything else to say, Prabhuji?
Prabhu, you mentioned the changes by Jayadvaita Maharaj to the books.
I'm a supporter of Jayadvaita Maharaj, by the way.
Okay, well, this is what I wanted to say because one wasn't sure what the thing was.
Okay. That's the only comment?
I want, yeah. Because
What Srila Prabhupada told the devotees, that they should correct the books. What are we going to do? We're going to present Prabhupada's books sometimes with the wrong purport, to the wrong verse, or things that make no sense that Srila Prabhupada did not say, like famously the planet of the trees, or something. So he did a good service, and maybe it's not perfect, because Krishna says nobody in this world is perfect, and no work is perfect. It may mean some problems, but it works pretty good for me. And I've seen so many people become devotees because of that book. What's the problem? Huh? And if you really have a problem with it, I'll tell you a secret. The original book is in the folio. And not only that, the original book is available millions and millions of, hundreds of millions of copies all over the world. They're distributed. You can get that book and you can read that and tell people about the planet of the trees and cattle raising and whatever else you like. Okay? Okay, it's a good point.
Thank you very much.
Prabhuji?
Sometimes we're encouraged to raise our spiritual standards perhaps above the level which we really could believe to maintain throughout a period of time. So there's also a kind of duplicity if I, for instance, accept that. So how to deal with that? Should we strive for more? Should we say, okay, come on, living in a temple is too tough, and just marry and the 3.5 principles and so on, that's my level, you know? So how to deal with that?
Where is that instruction coming from? If that instruction is coming from my guru, or someone who's authorized by my guru, then I have to accept it. And maybe I'm not on that platform. And I can say that. I'm not on that platform. That's a very important thing to say. And we can even say, we can tell them that, and in the inside we should always remember, I'm not on that platform. My Guru Maharaj said an interesting thing, which some may find a little controversial. But he said Prabhupada appointed the original gurus. But those people who fell down, what was their fault? Prabhupada appointed them. He said, but that appointment wasn't enough. They also had to realize their own position. And so even if I get some appointment, even if they make me guru or something, and I have no choice if my guru says, I have a right also to say, wait a minute, I also need to have a qualification. But some service in the temple or something, we have to see what Guru tells us. And if I can't do it, and maybe I just feel like Guru Maharaj, I just can't do it, but then I would suggest, don't forget that instruction. Srila Prabhupada got an instruction. And maybe he felt like he couldn't do it. He couldn't come to the West, it was too much. But he never forgot it. He always meditated on it. And eventually he did it. So we should be like that. Okay? So our time is up. Thank you all very much. If somebody has another question, somebody can come and see me afterwards.
When you devotee asked me what was the concept for Vaishnava and you mentioned your guru, many devotees don't know that. Many devotees asked me that you wanted von Vaishnava und not all know was the name is from your guru is.
Well, there's a reason why Sanatana Goswami quotes, can't remember the name of the book, in Hari Bhakti Vilas, he says, Gopayad Guru Matmanaha should hide your guru. Because who is my guru and who am I? I got some mercy from Sri Srimad Gauragovinda Swami Maharaj, but I'm not a qualified person to say I'm his disciple.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ji ki Jai, Premanande.